Hello students, good morning and Assalamu alaikum. I hope you all are doing well. Today we are going to revise our histories unit number 21, that is Islam first reaches the subcontinent. As we already know that Islam had spread it across the Arabia to different regions through different resources. Some of these were the Arab traders and the Arab merchants, and the other resources were the Arab armies. So, by 712, when Islam had started to spread towards westwards and eastwards and to the other regions, the Arab traders used to sail across the coasts of India. Once they were sailing across the coast of India, they were going towards Damascus. Actually, that cargo was having so many precious cargo and slaves for the Caliphate as a gift from the king of Sri Lanka. So near the port of Dabul, that is today near Karachi now, in 712 their ship was seized by some pirates. Now when Caliph Ali demanded the Raja Dahir of Sindh, that was the ruler of Sindh at that time, when Caliph Ali demanded that the prisoners and the treasures, the cargo should be returned back to them, then Raja Dahir refused and he said that he had no control over the pirates, so he cannot give the things back. After that, the governor of Eastern Arab Empire sent an army under the command of his 17-year-old nephew, whose name was Muhammad bin Qasim, to the region. As we already know that Muhammad bin Qasim was a very brave and young leader, he led an army, and during that battle, Raja Dahir was killed and he captured the Dabul. So this is how Arab started to spread across the Indus Valley and to the subcontinent. Now when Arabs came over there in Indus Valley, the areas such as Multan, Sehwan, Sindh and southern Punjab, they became the Arab territory. At first, this territory was a part of Caliphate, but in 871, this territory became two independent Muslim states. Muhammad bin Qasim, at that time, he was recalled back to Iraq, but Sindh continued as a part of Arab Empire for the next 200 years. So, as this region was captured by Arabs, so the rulers and the governors over there, they were appointed by Arabs, but the actual administration was in the hands of the local people who were Muslims and both the non-Muslims. Then there were some reforms made by Arab armies and Arab rulers over there. Some of these reforms were they started to collect jizya from the non-Muslims, that is a non-Muslim tax, we know that. And they started to collect zakat, that is a tax payable by the Muslims. Then there were qazis who were appointed to resolve the disputes and the fights between the Muslims, and the non-Muslims, they referred to their priests and the chiefs for their issues and problems. After that, there were construction of mosques, and also the temples for the non-Muslims, they were also built over there and repaired. Arab people started to get married with the Sindhi people, and this is how their generation started. And there was culture of both the races. The language used at that time was the Arabic, that was the official language as it was appointed by the Arab people. But the other language which was also then became in use, that was the Sindhi language, in which the Holy Quran was first time translated over there. The rulers, they were good to people, but even they were the Arabs, They allowed the Muslims and both the non-Muslims even to worship as they pleased. They didn't refuse anyone or stopped anyone to worship their religion or follow their religion. Most of the officials were the Hindus, so the Arab rulers allowed them to keep their jobs. Now, at that time, the land was getting free from the pirates, so this is how the Muslim traders started to increase rapidly over there. The people, the Arab people who came from Arabia to subcontinent, to the Indus Valley, they started to took back the things and the goods from subcontinent to the Arabia and Persia. Besides that, they also took some new ideas from the subcontinent, such as how to navigate their ships by using stars, and they took so much knowledge about the medicine. They learned new things like mathematics, especially the use of zero. Now, talking about the Ghaznavids, who were they? Ghaznavids were the Muslims whose empire stretched from Central Asia to Afghanistan. At the time, their capital city was Ghazni, and the king Sabuktigin, he made so many raids through the Khyber Pass to the subcontinent for the treasures and for the slaves. And after some time, his son also started to continue the raids for another 30 years. His son was Mahmud of Ghazni. He was so fierce in his ideas about the Hindus that he started destroying the temples, but otherwise he was a kind ruler. He allowed the non-Muslims to follow their own religion as long as they paid the taxes. And most officials who were the Hindus, he allowed them to keep their jobs, just like the Arab people. Mahmud of Ghazni wanted to make his capital city, which was the Ghazni, he wanted to make it the most beautiful city in the world. So, for this reason, he took so many artists, architects, musicians, writers, and scientists from the subcontinent to the city over here. During his era, the Silk Road, which was the great trade route from China to the west in Central Asia, it was made. Ghaznavid rulers started to tax the merchants who used this route to travel across the area or across this road. This is how they became wealthy. After that, they started to trade other things just such as gunpowder, tea powder, and fine pottery from China to the subcontinent, and also the other things which were cotton, sugar, spices, and perfumes from the subcontinent to China and Europe. This is how they grew the trade over there. But after the death of Mahmud Ghazni, the Ghaznavid Empire broke up into smaller states and all started to fight for the power. Talking about the Ghoris and the Sultanate of Delhi. There was a small state of Ghor which was ruled by two brothers. One of them invaded the Central Asia while the other invaded the India. The other one who invaded the India, his name was Muhammad Ghori. Under his rule, there was a ruler, Qutbuddin Aibak. He started to bring all the area from Afghanistan to Bengal under his control. So now, when Qutbuddin started to rule after the death of Muhammad Ghori, the armies chose Aibak to be the Sultan. And he became the first Muslim ruler of all northern India. This was the start and the beginning of the Delhi Sultanate. But after that, when Aibak died, his followed the next ruler was the Iltutmish, who was his son-in-law. But he had faced so many problems in defeating the states. After that, there were some serious invasions by the Mongols from the Central Asia under the rule of Genghis Khan. Now, talking about the Mongols, they were the people who came from Mongolia, but they became the Mughals of the India later on, which is a Persian version of their name. They had so many tribes, and one of the tribes' ruler was Genghis Khan. Genghis Khan was the leader and of one of the tribes, and he forced the people to unite in one powerful force to fight with other countries in other areas. So in 1207, they attacked the settled countries all around them, and they started to stretch their empire from China Sea to Russia. After that, they invaded the India in 1221, but there was a battle between them and the Iltutmish army, in which none of the side won. After that battle, they went back to Central Asia, and after some time, Genghis Khan died. After the death of Iltutmish, his daughter, whose name was Razia Sultana and who was a strong and brave ruler and woman, she became the ruler and she ruled for 4 years. But the generals and the nobles, they did not like that they were being governed by a woman, so they murdered her. In 1246, a group of noblemen made Nasiruddin as the emperor, who was the Iltutmish grandson. But the power was in the hands of Balban, who was the chief general. Balban ruled and controlled the empire for 20 years on the behalf of his master. But after the death of Nasiruddin, the nobles made him the emperor. He fought so many Mongol invasions, but after his death in 1296, so many weak emperors came to the throne. One of them was Alauddin Khilji, but he was not that weak. He was a capable leader and he set up a good governance system. He drove out the Mongols and conquered much of the southern India. Now, after Alauddin, there was a ruler whose name was Ghaziuddin Tughlaq, and after that, his son became the ruler whose name was Muhammad bin Tughlaq. Now, we know about him because there was a famous Muslim traveler from Morocco whose name was Ibn Battuta and who used to live at Sultan's court for 7 years. He told us that Muhammad bin Tughlaq did so many great things for the people, such as building great irrigation schemes and building hospitals, schools, and homes for the old people and the mosques. But besides all these things, there were some mistakes which were made by him, such as shifting his capital to a new city, Daulatabad, and he also appointed some untrained people to the high posts. These were some of the mistakes who proved to be very expensive, or you can say the grave mistakes. But after the death of Muhammad bin Tughlaq, his son Firoz Shah ruled for 37 years. And the mistakes which were made by Muhammad bin Tughlaq, he improved that and he improved the conditions of his kingdom. After that, there was a ruler whose name was Timur. The Mongols recaptured and destroyed Delhi and killed so many people. After that, Timur took back with him the architects, artists, masons, and all the other people back to the his capital city, Samarkand. Okay, students. So I hope that the history of Islam and how Islam spread it across the subcontinent, this is clear to you now. With a prayer that Allah keeps us all safe and healthy, I would like to say bye now. Allah Hafiz, take care of yourselves.